Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we are rolling.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Appreciate it. Thank y'all for taking the time to spend this hour with me. I have no presentation prepared. I just wanted to talk to you guys. I want it to be an interactive conversation. I've been in real estate for 20 years, sold a lot of homes. I broke the 2,000 homes sold mark last year. I've been doing it a little bit. So I got a little bit of experience. So what I want to hear from you guys, and when Katie asked me to do this class, I said, well, what's the angle? Like, what do they want to hear? And what I was told, and we can change that if this is not what you guys want to hear, because I want it to be beneficial to you. I was told the premise is a postcard gets sent out. You guys get the postcard. I'm sorry, the client gets the postcard, calls you for the listing appointment, and what happens next? Everybody good with that?
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay. So, hey, Natalie. So basically it's going to be, hey, ring, ring. We got your postcard. And see, this is the thing. I send out lots of postcards, so I never know what neighborhood they're in, you know? So I'm like, oh, I got my postcard. Great. I say, you're looking to make a move? And I always say looking to make a move. Because, and yeah, you guys might want to just jot down notes because I'm just going to throw out random stuff. Because make a move, or you're thinking about making a move, that's very soft. It's not like looking to buy or sell a house, looking to buy or sell a house. Well, I don't know at this point if we're looking to buy or sell a house. They're very early in the discussion, and you want to keep that first discussion light. Sure, I'm here to answer any questions you have, be a resource for you. I'll help you any way I can. Let's get together and talk. You always want to get in front of them. Try to have as little conversation on the phone and give them as little information as possible. Hey, Edie, hey, Philip, because you don't want to spill it all and then they don't have a reason to meet with you. So I try to find out a couple of things. I say, hey, you're thinking about making a move. That's awesome. I am here as a resource to answer any questions you have at whatever phase you are at. Whether you're ready to move tomorrow or a year down the road, I can answer your questions for you. So let's get together and we'll figure out a few of the things you need to do at this point. And I'll be here along the way. And sometimes you have to do that first meeting to build the rapport, but they are not ready to sell yet. But you got to get around their kitchen table to get face to face so that you're the one, as they go through this process and figure out about the job transfer and so forth, that they can lean on you and they can ask you the questions. So some people go, oh, don't go to the listing table unless you know they're ready to list. I go early, and I'm glad to go early because I want to be the face that they put with their move. Okay. So the next thing, sorry, I got somebody trying to come in the, oh, hang on, I got a delivery coming. Sorry. I have a little office on Main Street in Garner, and I'm the only one here. So I lock the door, and then people jerk on the door. Sorry about that. Okay. You want to be the first one to the table. The first one wins the game. You don't want to be the second realtor. You don't want to be the third realtor. Try to be the first one to the table. And that's why I will gladly go early, because I want to, start to build that rapport.
I have a question, Cassondra.
Yeah.
So what are you saying on your card, your postcards that you're sending out? I know you say you send out tons. What do you send out?
So I do just listed whenever I list a house, and I do all around that neighborhood. And on the front of the card, I have one. Nope. On the front of the card, it just says just listed 123 Main Street, whatever neighborhood. And on the back, I put at the top, pick your new neighbor, which is kind of like a weird, like, oh, what do you mean pick my new neighbor? But it makes them read my postcard instead of throwing it in the trash. And then it says, I've listed another home for sale in your community. You will be, oh, no, I'm sorry. This is just listed. I've listed another home for sale in your community. If you know of any friends, family members, or coworkers that might want to live in your area, please let them know about this home for sale. Paragraph 1, that's it. Paragraph 2 on the back says, if you're interested in knowing the value of your home, call or text me today with my phone number. That's it. Now, I do that to, the area around the neighborhood. I use Quantum Digital cards. You can do this through command. I've just been using Quantum Digital for 100 years, so it works for me, and I'm an old dog. I'm not learning any new tricks right now. So then I do when we go under contract. And sometimes the first card hadn't even got there by the time the second card gets out, because, you know, they're moving so fast. But it's like boom, boom, postcard, postcard. The second one, I just say, you'll be welcoming new neighbors soon. I put 123 Main Street under contract. If you'd like to know what your house is worth, please contact me today. Because the what your house is worth is the hook. It's not, do you want to buy or sell? I don't know if I want to buy or sell. Oh yeah, I want to know what my house is worth. You know, whether they're moving or not, always offer market analysis. And some people say, I'm not moving. I say, I don't care if you move or not. Don't you want to know how much equity you have in your house? Don't you want to know if if it's gone up or down since you bought? And if it's gone up, oh my gosh, you're $30,000 in a year. That's amazing. Rah, 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 rah. You know? Okay. So that's the postcard. Ring, ring, postcard comes in. All right, let's get around the table. The very next thing I do is I put this appointment on my calendar. Y'all need to live and die by a calendar. That calendar dictates what you're doing every minute of the day. And if you guys aren't religiously using a calendar, I like to use Google Calendar because one, our Keller Williams account is a Google account, and it's just everything, our emails and everything are linked together. What I also do is when I put it on the calendar, I automatically set a reminder in my date. I put it on the calendar, set a reminder in my database to call them tomorrow, which is, I know, a little bit weird. So I go on a listing appointment today, I get a reminder from my database to call them tomorrow, because inevitably there'll be a question that I'm supposed to follow up on that I'm going to forget to follow up on because I'm doing something else tomorrow. So I am really, really big on making the technology work smarter for me. Because I'm 100 miles an hour with my hair on fire and I have terrible ADD to begin with. So it's not a good combination with this market. All right. So we go to the house. I always call or text the day before or the morning. If it's a late afternoon, I might text that morning confirming that we are still on for 2 o'clock. Look forward to seeing you. Because I can't tell you how many times I showed up at a house and they're like, oh yeah, we're not selling. I'm like, I drove all the way out here. We're selling something today, let me tell you. So confirm, always confirm. When I get to the house, I knock on the door and then I take a couple steps back. One, it feels a little less like I'm rushing in your house. 2, I've had dogs run at me that I don't want to run at me. And 3, it's just like a, hey, I'm here, how you doing? You know? When I go in the house, 99% of the time, I compliment them on how it smells, unless it smells really, really bad. Because think about it, when people come into your house, don't you think, oh, I wonder what my house smells like? And they worry about it. And I always say, oh my gosh, and they definitely sprayed something or plugged something in before you went over. They just have. So I say, your house smells so good. And that just loosens the mood. It really, really loosens the mood. If the house does not smell good, I do not tell them that it smells good. But I just don't say anything. All right, any thoughts or questions up to this point? Y'all good? Yeah, Christina.
What if you don't have a listing in the community? What other postcards do you recommend?
I do, and I farm a community across the street from me. I'm farming it very unsuccessfully right now, but I do a postcard every month that basically says, you wanna know what your house is worth? You wanna know what your house is worth? Because if you're saying, do you wanna buy or sell? The automatic, if they're not ready, the automatic is, no, I'm not ready to buy or sell. You gotta find the angle of what is something of value that they would want. Some people do really well with recipe cards, which I know feels really old school, but I heard agents swear by them. Other things that I love, I mean, this is kind of out of the box from postcards, but I have a friend in Maryland. I'm from Maryland. My mother's a realtor in Maryland. That every 4th of July, she buys those $1 little mini flags and she sticks them in front of every mailbox the 3rd of July at the night. So when they wake up in the morning, the whole neighborhood's covered in flags. And that kind of stuff, if you're farming a neighborhood, think outside of the postcard box. Pick a neighborhood that is, 3 to 7 years old. Nobody's usually moving within 2 years, and put a lot of effort into it. Have if they have a pool, throw a free ice cream social. If they, Ian could teach a lesson, a clinic on collecting canned goods and coats and stuff like that. He farms his own neighborhood, and he's just known there. So there, besides the postcards, there's lots and lots of ways to get more business or get attention from those clients. But if you are doing postcards, I would just say, do you want to know what your house is worth?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? I'd love to hear if anybody's doing anything differently. Certainly throw in your 2 cents of what's working for you. I don't have all the answers by any means. Okay.
I haven't sent this out yet, but I just did some research online
Yeah.
for cards that people won't throw away, like what activities are coming up in your community that you are aware of. They
huge.
said that's a good idea because they'll keep that.
100%. At the beginning of the year, I do, and I didn't do it this year because there's nothing on the calendar, but generally for years, I have done what's happening in Garner, and I make it through Vistaprint, ends up being like $200. I get like 10,000 of them. And I make my kids put a peel off magnet on the back, and I would mail them out. And it was, the Easter egg hunt at Lake Benson, downtown food truck rodeo on Main Street. That is exactly what they'll hang on to. So I like where you're going with that. Really, really good. Okay. Anybody else? How are y'all getting listing appointments? Anybody have any tips you want to throw out? No? Okay. All right. So we're in the door. We've told them their house smells good. Let's hope it does. The next thing I do, I say, will you please give me a little tour of your house? And I go and put my stuff on the kitchen table because the kitchen table is where I want to be. All right. Let me back up. Before I go on my listing appointments, I have created, I've had these folders made. This is just for me and my team. Again, Vistaprint, they're cheap. I think I got 200 for $200 or something like that. You don't have to do this, but I'm just saying. I go in with this in my listing presentation. A working with real estate agent sheet. Gotta have it. Seller net sheet. In Command, they will let you create a listing presentation. It's really, really good. Go into Command, and I don't know if it's under I don't know what it's under. We'll figure it out. If anybody knows what it's under, let us know. I created designs. What is it, honey?
It's in designs.
Design, yes, that would make sense where it is. Yes, thank you. I did a page about me. I did a marketing plan, and the marketing plan is list an MLS, put it on realtor.com, put a sign in the yard. It's nothing fancy. It's just what I'm going to do. I have created a preparing your home for sale. This is trim the bushes. And I think they're in there, to be honest with you. I had one for a long time, but I actually think they give this to you. Make sure your counters are cleaned off, deep clean the bathrooms. It's just generic stuff. It's almost just a filler for this, to be honest with you. Then there are 2 things that I go and get. So I have these made up. I have like 50 of them sitting in my office. I just have all like the generic stuff that I know I'm taking every single time. The things I need to make is the CMA. And I go and pull 2 different stats. Let me share a screen with you. Share your screen. Can you all see my screen? Yeah? Okay. I pull a couple things that are custom to each one. So I've got my filler stuff. I can grab this thing real quick. And then I come to showing time and I go to reports. And then I scroll down here to target market analysis and click run report. So first I've done my CMA. So I have a guesstimate of what this house is worth. And then I come to this report. Okay, I think we're going to list this house between 300 and 350. Somewhere in that range is where we're going to end up. So I come in here and I say 300 to 350. I put in the city, Garner. And you can even go as granular as the subdivision, but the data gets, unless it's a huge neighborhood, you just don't come back with a lot of results. And I click.
Cassondra, can you repeat that again? I was writing
ma'am.
it down and went a little too far.
I'm sorry about that. You know what? I'm going to be honest. My assistant really does this, so I might be doing it wrong. Let me do it real quick. 350. Hold on, and then I'll tell you the steps. Oh, that's the problem. Let me make sure I'm doing it right, and then I'll tell you the steps.
Okay.
Yeah, this is it. Okay, so it's reports
Okay.
in showing time.
Okay.
Scroll to the bottom. It's the last one, which is target market analysis. Run report. I put in my guesstimated price range because I've already done my market analysis. So I'm just for giggles doing 300 to 350. I should do a million just because I never get them and it would be fun. Increments, $10,000. That's what I missed the first time. And put it in your city. Click submit. Now what comes up is a really cool list of showings per price range. So if a buyer says if I say, look, I think your target price for this house is 330, and he'll go, okay, I'll take 330. I need this data because look right here, y'all. Homes from 320 to 329.99 have 23.5% more showings than homes to 330 to 339. So I need to go to 329 instead of 330. Is that making sense? And when you tell them this, you look really, really smart. Like you've come in very prepared with your data to give them the best advantage to sell. Now, they're going to sell in this market. In another market, and I've been in this market where you're begging people to buy houses, you come in with stats like this. You say, you know what, I think the price is about 330, but I would like to go to 329.9 because you have 23% of the market in that price range shows in that sector. When you go up to 330, it's only 7%. And they go, oh, you're so smart. Okay, good tool to have. I also go to MLS. So MLS, let me start at the beginning. We are done with you showing time. And I go to resources and then fast stats. Y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
Select an area. I'm selecting Garner. Time period, I always just select the last month. And then click view report. This is a beautiful little one-pager snapshot of what is happening with Garner Real Estate. Again, it's filler for this and makes me look really, really smart. And there are talking points on here. You know, that there were 110 new listings in 2020. There's only 94. Markets down, you know, with inventory. There are talking points in here. Study it before you go so you can, you know, pull up 2 or 3 facts you want to show. This is making you guys look like experts. They're hand feeding you the data. Use it. All right. And then the third thing I pull is the market analysis. So I've got all my canned stuff that's in there, fluffy about me. I'm great. Yeah. Working with real estate agents, of course, all of that. Then throw this in. The last thing I do is a market analysis. I never, ever, ever suggest a price for a house. I guide them selecting their price. And that's really, really important. I can guarantee you that they know more about their neighborhood than you can ever pull from MLS. They know JoJo up the street sold for so-and-so because he was getting relocated. Mary down the street sold for so-and-so because she's getting divorced. They know everything going in the neighborhood. So I go in and say, let me present the data to you and we together will pick a price. But I don't go in and say, we're going to list 350. All right. They also feel like they're part of that decision. And being part of that decision gives them ownership that if I have to call them for a price reduction, that they're like, okay, yeah, we picked the wrong price. Not, oh, you told me this and now you're not going to get it for me. Sound good? All right, I went down a big rabbit hole. We're at the kitchen table. I come in. I said, your house smells good. I said, can I put my stuff down? I put everything down except for this because I use it to write on or a clipboard or whatever you have. And I have created this document that I'm going to send you all called the seller listing worksheet. This is my keep myself in order worksheet because I get rambling and forget stuff. This reminds me that I need to ask certain questions. Beforehand, I do come and fill this out. And all it says, and I know it's hard to read, is seller's name and address, phone number and email. Then I put the referral source, where they came from, because nothing's more embarrassing than sitting at the table and saying, well, where'd you get my name from? And they say, oh, so-and-so told me to call you. Well, you're a ding dong because you're losing that warm connection. So know what your referral source is for this client. I also always go beforehand and see what the Zillow says their house is worth and the tax record says what their house is worth, because they already know that data. If you guys don't know that data, you don't look like you're the expert. Okay? And sometimes Zillow's dead on, and sometimes it's way out of there, and it's set a bad expectation for the discussion you're going to have, because they're thinking, oh, Zillow says it's worth this, and I'm going to have to hit them with hard facts. Okay? Oh, let me unshare this. How do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. Okay. All right. The other thing that I go out and do is I look at, when I'm looking at what the tax record said the tax value is, I look at the tax square footage and I jot that down here. And I also go look at the MLS square footage, because I want to know, have they put any unpermitted buildings up, any or structures up? They've put addition on. If you see a big delta between the tax square footage and the MLS square footage, they have gone and put something on that house and did not get a permit, and that is okay, but it's a discussion that needs to be had, and that gives me a heads up on that. Make sense? I put number of stories, year built, and I also put what they paid, what the purchase date was, and what they paid, because all of this data up front leads my discussion when we sit at that table. If they've been in that house for 15 years and you know, I know they have a ton of equity, we've got some flexibility. If they moved in 2 years ago, I need to know that. I need to know how long they've been there and what they paid. So all of this helps me get my head around what the discussion's going to be. Okay? We're back in the house. The house smells good. Stuff is on the table. I say, give me a little tour. I got my sheet on my folder. I'm taking notes. Tell me about your house. And I ask them 2 questions. Well, they take me all around. I take all kinds of notes. Big tub. They're pointing out stupid stuff. Look at this extra trim. Nobody cares. Okay, writing it down because it's important to them. I ask them, what do you like most about your house? And what do you like least about your house? And they will spill it. They will spill it. And this is data that I need. I want to know what they don't like about their house for 2 reasons. 1, it's probably their motivator to sell. And 2, can I overcome it so another buyer doesn't hate this about their house? So if they say, I hate my neighbors, there is nothing I can do about that. If they say, I hate these kitchen cabinets, whatever, we can have them painted. Is it an obstacle that we can overcome, or is it just is? The second thing it does, it helps me figure out their motivation. Sellers either move away from something or towards something. And I need to get to the root of why they're moving. They're moving away from the busy highway, or away from, they want some land, they want to get out of town into the country, or they're moving towards the grandkids, towards the beach. I need to know what they're moving away from or towards. It's something I need to identify during this time in their house. Okay? Y'all hit me with questions. I feel like I'm talking too much. Nothing. Scott Daniels, I know you got something to say. All right. Okay, we've gone all around. I have chatted type stuff. Oh, the other thing I have on here is the age of the roof, the age of the HVAC. Do they have an appraisal? Do they have a survey? I want to know how old these systems are while we're having the discussion, because if the HVAC is 20 years old and they want to ask top dollar, I don't know if we're getting it. If the roof is 20 years old and the HVAC is 20 years old, I don't know if we're getting it. Make sense? I gotta have the data in order to guide the discussion. So we go all around, I jot notes, and then I say, can we sit at the table and talk? Get to the dining room table. Do not sit on the couch that you're falling down in and you're sitting like this, and somebody's in a chair over here and it is not a good discussion. You want to be sitting at the table where everybody's even and you can hand papers and see each other. Okay? It's really important. The second piece is always ask where they would like for you to sit. And I know this is a weird question. However, I guarantee they have their seats at the table. And if you sit in Mr. Seller's seat and he's sitting in his child's seat, he does not feel comfortable at his own table. Make sense? He has a seat She has a seat. Where would you like for me to sit? Now, if they say, I don't care, I sit at the head of the table and I would like both of them on one side of the table because I'm looking at them both at the same time instead of going back and forth. And if I have to show them anything, they can read it instead of one's upside down. Does that make sense? In the perfect world, I'm at the head of the table, they're on the side table. I know it sounds like a weird thing to talk about, but the psychology of it's really important because this is a discussion where you're trying to make them feel like we're all a team and you're really comfortable with me. And if they're uncomfortable, it doesn't go well. Okay. So I don't have a big listing presentation. I sit down and I say, tell me why you want to move. What is this move about? And I guarantee at first they're like, we don't know if we want to move. We're just kicking tires. I said, that's all good. I am here to answer any questions that you have to help you make this decision. Whether the move is next month or a year from now, let's chat it out and let me fill in some of these puzzle pieces for you so that you can see what's best for you. What would you like for me to answer for you today? And I just sit there and say nothing. And then they're like, oh, well, I guess, and they'll start asking questions. And so, or they'll start talking. And the more they talk, the more I can figure out why they're moving. And I ask them, why are you moving? What is the thing that you like? What is the thing you don't like? Because the motivation is really what we want to get to. The price and this and that and painting the walls, that's all ancillary. I'm trying to close the deal. And you can only close the deal and get the listing if you know why they want to move. Okay? Somebody talk to me.
So do you do any pre-listing packets or anything like that, or you just take everything with you when you go?
When the market was really slow and you had time to email your stuff out, or some people even like send it over there with a courier, we do not have time for that right now. Now, I'll tell you something that I do that I wouldn't recommend that you guys do. I do not take the listing agreement to the table with me. I take the working with real estate agents, and I'm sorry, that's the first thing you do when you sit down is give them the working with real estate agents before you start talking. And I give that to them. I probably should take the listing agreement with me, but I don't want to be there that long. I don't want to be there that long. I want to be there 30, 40 minutes tops.
Take it with you.
I know.
My goal has been, same as you, to get my listing agreements down to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I wasn't taking the forms I needed to take. And that gives them that little bit of time to say no. And it's creating issues with my assistant and transaction coordinator because the forms aren't filled out exactly the way they should be. So
I totally agree with Terrence. And I may lose one or two. I don't know.
Well, at your level, you can lose.
No, I was getting ready to say something and I thought you're a jerk for saying that. And let me say this, at the beginning of the year, and I hope y'all have done this. I really hope y'all have done this. I did economic model, which is right out of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And it says, if I want to make X amount of money, I have to go on X amount of appointments, which I have to convert to listings, which I have to convert to buyers, which converts to commissions. I mean, the success in real estate is math. You guys have to know how many appointments you have to go to, so you know how many phone calls you have to make for how many people you have to talk to. There is no way to fail at this if you know your numbers and go and get them. There's no way to fail at real estate if you know these numbers. If you don't know these numbers and you're flopping out there in the wind, yes, it's very frustrating. But if I know I need to make 37 phone calls a day to talk to 22 people, to get 3 listing appointments a week, to get 2 listings a week, to close 1 a week, it's pure math, y'all. So if you haven't done that, no harm, no foul. Let's get you the economic model so you know exactly what you need to do. And it's a spreadsheet. It's a spreadsheet. You fill it, I want to make X amount of money, and it works down all the numbers for you. Why did I say that? Why I said that was because I am not doing great at listing appointments. I used to get 70 to 80% of the listing appointments I went on. And that was the number I put in there because I knew I was going to get them. I'm probably getting about 50% right now. And it's not because I don't think I'm doing a good job. I think buyers are nervous. They are using companies like Open Door, and I am offering that service as well. And I hope you guys get certified to offer our iBuyer service. people are calling way, way, way early in the process, and I might get them down the road. They're just not slam dunks right now. So my number is about 50% on I'm leaving the table and I know I'm listing their house. And I hate that number because it's a lot of work, but I know that number because I track my numbers. So I know I need to make more phone calls to make more appointments to hit my goal. If I wasn't tracking that number, I wouldn't know. I need to make the adjustment in my business. And that's the difference between being a business person and a realtor in the hustle, is knowing your numbers. Okay. All right. So we're at the table. I've done working with real estate agents and I have said, why are we moving? And they will spill it. I hate the neighbor, the dog across the street barks all the time. Or I'm going to, and one of the biggest ones is I want to be close to the grandkids. Everybody's going to be close to the grandkids, which good, good for them. What'd you say, Tay? In the chat, Terrence, you're a mess. He said, send me those ones that are down the road, not worth your time. They're worth my time. They're just not converting fast enough for me. I'm a quick decision-making girl. I do not sit at the table and do now here's my marketing plan. Now if that works for you and you're new and that helps you guide the discussion, by all means do it. And when I was new, I did do it because I didn't know what to talk about, to be honest with you. But I find now through experience, the more I just have conversation with them, they 90% of the time don't even ask me what my commission is. And I am not bringing it up. Do not bring it up. Because if you bring it up, then they're going to say, oh, well, we thought we were going to get X. I try my best to list at 6% every time. If they bring it up, then I say, let's talk about that. And I pull out, which is in my folder, the seller net sheet. And I say, it's not about my commission. It's about getting you the top dollar, right? That's really, or the best bottom line, right? That's really what you guys are interested in, is how much money can you take away? Let's do the math. And I do the math and I skip the discussion after that of the commission. Because what ends up happening, especially in this market, is after I work all the seller side costs, which our net sheet lovely spells them out for you, they get a big chunk of money at the bottom and they're happy anyway. Does that make sense? Then my commission's not an issue because it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was going to make that much money. And it just goes away. So what they really care about is their net, is the seller net, and take that net sheet with you, because in reverse, when the market was really, really bad and we'd go on these appointments, or not really, really bad, but a different market, I should say, probably 1 out of every 4 or 5, they were underwater, and you got to know what selling position they're in. And I have a feeling that's coming again, y'all. All these people way overpaying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for homes, and 2, 3, 4 years go to sell them. They're not selling them for what they bought them for. We're going to be back in an underwater market down the road. I don't know what the timing is, but down the road. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? We've chatted. I do pull out, I do pull out like a prepping your house for sale sheet. And I say, if you follow down this and do everything on this list, you're going to be in good shape. Clean off the kitchen counters, trim up the bushes out front, deep clean the bathrooms. But we're not painting houses now. We're not redoing carpets now. The market doesn't dictate it. So I just point out a few. They want you to guide them, and I point out a few sprucey things for them to do. Does that make sense? All right, I had a note. Before you leave, always ask them their preferred method of communication. You want to know if they want to be quick text. Do they want to have long, lovely conversations with you? Do they like email because they can track it? Always ask them what the preferred method is. Laura has a question. What information do you fill out on the seller net sheet before you present it to them? I fill nothing out. I go in with a blank slate. So, and I'm jumping around. I'm not going in the flow of the presentation. I'm just hitting things that I talk about. I asked them if a buyer was interested in your home, what would the likes and dislikes be? We talked about that. Okay, let's talk about the price. So I point blank say, what do you think your house is worth? Because again, they have researched it to death before they've even called you. They know what everybody in the neighborhood is sold for. They know more than you, I can assure you, if you're in a neighborhood. And sometimes they'll say, I don't know, you tell me. And I'll say, I don't know, let's look at the data. And I always say, there is no magic price for a house. The house is worth a range, and it's based on demand, condition, and location. And so I said, let's talk about each of those things. Let's talk about your location. Location is something we cannot change. If you are on a busy road, you're not getting top dollar for this house, like the same floor plan deeper in the neighborhood that's on a cul-de-sac. If the house is beautifully tucked in the woods, we may get top dollar for this house. You know, there's a lot of variables. So I get them thinking about what the variables are. Condition. Is this house looking like a model home, or does it have beat up baseboards and it smells like dog and, you know, the yard's dirt? And so, and then I say, location, condition, market. Because I've gone and done the market analysis, I know how many days on market this neighborhood goes for. And that's something I point out in the market analysis is, look, houses in your neighborhood sell in 3 days, 5 days, 30 days, or whatever. All talking points so we can lead them to the discussion of where we're going to list. I go in with a range. I say, I think your house is worth somewhere from 325 to 335. Based on the things we just talked about, location, condition, and demand, where do you think you should be in that range? I want them to pick their price. I do not want to pick their price. It's weird now because every single house sells, but it's never been like that in my career before. I want them to be committed to that number, that it wasn't me saying your price is X, and then when it doesn't sell at X, they're mad at me. Make sense? The other thing is motivation. If they, look, we got to get out of town, we're closing another house. Well, maybe we need to price our house a little bit below so that it moves fast. It's moving fast because of the market now, I know. Or, look, we have nowhere to go. We're not even sure we're going yet. Okay, well, let me price a little bit higher, see how it goes. There's no magic price. There's always a range, and you together pick the price. Thoughts, comments on that? Okay. Before you leave, you always have to close the deal. So I've talked about price. I did working with real estate agents, talked about their motivation, painted the picture. If you could be where, I always say, okay, we're moving to where? Where we're moving to? Oh, I'm moving to the beach. If you could be at the beach, when would that be? Oh, yesterday. We just love the beach. Okay, I know they want to move quickly, and I know where they want to move to. Once I have that information, I close the deal on them. Okay, let's get you to the beach. You ready to list this house? Oh, I don't know if I'm ready to list. I'm ready to list. Okay, but do you feel like I could sell this house for you? Do you feel like I've given you all the information that you need so that when the timing is right, that you'll work with me? They're going to say yes. Let's talk about if they're going to interview other agents. Yeah, we talked to you, but we're going to talk to other agents. Oh, okay, tell me why you're going to talk to other agents. Did I not cover all the bases and make you feel like that I could be that I'm the one to sell this house for you? Oh, yeah. We just want to check their prices. Well, the data is what the data is. They're going to pull the exact same comps because your house is worth what similar homes in the neighborhood have sold for in the last 6 months. So they're not going to pull any different data than me because your house is worth what your house is worth. But if you have to talk to somebody, because sometimes they're just like, I'm talking to somebody else. I always say, if they give you a number that's way off from mine, you need to call me because you cannot sell your house and get it to appraise for outside of this range. It's just going to be a nightmare. So if they're giving you some crazy number to get your listing, you're going to be sorry for that in the end because you're going to miss appraisal, and every house, unless it's cash, has to appraise. And that is a discussion that I am having at the table about appraisals because it's a big dang deal right now. I basically say, here's the comps, here's the range, pick the price. Let's talk about this price. If this house, in order to make this house appraise, we have to be within fair market value range. And I want to get you top dollar for your house. It is my goal to get every penny out of this house, as I know it's your goal to get every penny out of this house. But we have to be realistic, and we have to be within what we think the appraiser is going to say this house is worth. And so I say, unless the buyer pays cash, which we're seeing a lot of cash in this market, to be honest with you, like $300,000-$400,000 purchases cash. I don't want them to know that. But unless the buyer pays cash, they're going to get a loan on this house. And the bank is going to send an appraiser out to, so if the new buyer defaults on the house and they have to take the house back, they need to make sure they will purchase it back in, or take it back in fair market value range. That range is what is listed in MLS. Those are the numbers, So we can't be so far out of that range that the appraiser is not going to appraise this house, or we're going to hit issues at that point. The appraiser works for the bank. They do not care if this sale goes through. Just so you guys know that. The appraiser works for the bank. They don't care if so-and-so is crying in the driveway because they want this house and it didn't appraise. So have that appraisal discussion, because I'm seeing sellers get really, really, really greedy. Oh my God, I've got a guy across the street here. He bought his house last month for $350,000. He said, can I sell it for $375,000? I ran the numbers. I'm like, it's high, dude. It's high. I don't think you're going to get it. He wants to list at $389,000. I'm like, no, we're not listing at $389,000. I cannot support it with our numbers. Bought it a month ago. So, $375,000, we might get lucky, and I don't know what's going to end up happening. But talk about appraisals, because it's a big, big deal at this point. Anybody have any thoughts on appraisals? Any other scripts, or Terrence, what are you saying about appraisals and that point in the discussion?
When I come to that discussion, because right now, even when I sit down, it's an unknown of what that house is going to appraise for. Really, I got an idea, but I don't know. I use the coming soon program. In that, I tell them we're going to play with the price.
Yep.
We might get the absolute highest. I explain to them how high due diligences are right now.
Yes.
And I say, I can guarantee you, if the house is worth $350,000, we can get offers at $385,000 all day. Yep. But it's not going to work out. And this is why. And that's when I go back to those comps that I showed them when we originally sat down. And I say, this is what it's going to boil down to. Anybody can tell you anything about prices, but this is what it comes down to. And we have to be realistic.
Because we're looking at the same data that the appraiser is looking at. This is what I say. I'm looking at the same data that bank appraiser is going to look at. If an agent comes in here and we decide it's worth $350,000 and they tell you they're getting $375,000, they're just throwing a crazy number out to get your listing. That is not going to work. It's not going to work. So let's be realistic up front and put it at a fair market value price. It's an important discussion to have, because it is a big part of what is happening in our market, is that people are so overpaying and they're missing the appraisals. So, all right. So you close the deal. You say, we're going to list, right? Yay. I am finding that a large majority of the buyers are not ready today. It is, yes, I'm going to sell. I've got to figure out, that's another thing. You've got to talk about where they're going so that they're not homeless. And this is a big reason sellers are not selling, is because they don't know what the next step looks like. They know they want to get closer to the grandkids. They know they want to get to the beach. However, they don't know what's happening on that end. So before, when things were normal, I don't know if they're ever normal, in the different market, we would list the house and we'd say, let's go look at houses on Saturday. And we'd set up 8 appointments on Saturday and we'd go look at houses and we hope we'd find a good one. They have to know where they're going before they list this house. I'm telling you, they've got to put so much more work into that side of it than we've ever done before. Now, I was saying yesterday, I think I have 15 or 16 buyers under contract right now, and all but one is new construction. And the reason that it's new construction is they have houses to sell, and it's almost impossible to sell their house and go to another resale house. So the new construction gives you a time frame and some structure into when they can make that move. So so you have to have that discussion about helping them on the next piece, and then figuring out the sale. And this is why sellers aren't selling. They don't know. I can't tell you how many sellers would sell if they knew where they were going to go, and they know how crazy the market is. So they're going, I can't get another. Actually, matter of fact, I've got Terrence and I, Christy Chambers, talked to her today. I'm listing a house in her neighborhood for $315. It's the highest house that'll ever sell out there. It is also the biggest house. She called me freaking out. You're getting $315 for this house? I said, yes, I am. You ready to sell yours? I would sell it tomorrow, but where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? And she's kind of right, because in that price point, there ain't nothing. I mean, starter homes are $280. So that is the crushing fear of these sellers. So you have to approach that discussion of where they're going at the same time of why they're listing, or they're not going to list, because if they can't see the next step and you can't help them facilitate the next step, whether it's referring to somebody down the beach or figuring out what the plan is here, send them new construction because it's stable. They're not going to sell their house. Yeah.
I think that's very important, Cass. Reflecting back on what everybody was asking, what should I, in my listing package, what should I, it's not talking about how you market the property, because I guarantee you every listing agent in this office markets their property 85 to 90% the exact same way.
Yeah.
There might be one thing they do different. Everything else is the same way. Where you will make yourself different is having that conversation, connecting with that client, and showing how you work with other stuff aside from getting the home. So you worried about where they're going. I went to one yesterday. They have a 2-story living room, and they had gotten probably 3 or 4 guys to come in to give them estimates. 3 of them didn't give the estimates back, and one of them was supposed to bring one back. So I found a painter that could come in and do that for them, even if they didn't list with me. Just stuff like that helps, instead of just talking about how you're going to market the home.
Yep.
Because you're their problem solver.
That's it. They have a problem. They need fixed, solved. How am I going to connect the people, connect the gaps for the problem that they have? They don't care about your listing packet. That's why I keep calling this stuff in here filler, because you got to give them something. They're not going to look at it. They might briefly look through it real quick. It is solving their problem that gets you the listing. That's a great point. Great point. That's all I got. Y'all ask me questions. Let's chat. Thoughts on what was said? Thoughts on what wasn't said? Any ahas? Anything you're going to change in your listing presentation from the discussion?
I would love to know if you are mentioning for the sellers to do a lease back.
Oh,
to give them time to find a property.
Yep, I'm doing it right now. I went this week, found the buyers a resale house. It was brutal. We finally won one. This is why I don't like to do new construction, but we finally won one. And then they panicked because, oh my gosh, I have to sell my house. So we listed their house today, and I put in MLS, close date must be April 30th, must have a 30-day lease back. Basically, don't bring me an offer that the close date isn't April 30th with a 30-day lease back. Because they want to remodel the kitchen in the new house. So lease backs are a big part of the strategy, yes. And that really calms them down. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that move day, I don't know when's the last time y'all moved. It's brutal, especially if you have back-to-back closings. Got to be out of the other house the night before. You got all your mess on a truck. You're hoping that the money gets moved. If you can say to them, look, we're going to close on your house, and you'll have an extra 30 days in that house to get moved, to do whatever you want to do, to kind of get situated. The money's in your bank account, but you've got a little bit of flexibility there. It really calms them down. Thank you for bringing that up. Does that make sense? Everybody understand what we're saying? They get to stay. They sold their house. They got a bank full of money. They get to stay in their own house for 2 weeks, a week, whatever you guys discuss. But I just picked a month for my people because they want to redo some stuff in the kitchen, and I know it's going to take that long. What is the address? No, Joanne, what I'm saying is that they are leasing back their own house. It's not a house for lease. Does that make sense? I can't hear you.
I understand that they want to purchase a house. They they can't move in actually to the end of May. So those dates would work for my buyer. They don't want
I
to
don't
lease the
have a
house.
house for lease. I'm
But
saying people are
It's not
leasing.
for lease. They want to buy one.
Okay, tell me
Well,
more.
if they close April 30th and your seller wants to lease back to May 30th, those
Oh.
dates would be perfect.
Oh,
my
God.
buyer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm with you. Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's in Eagle Ridge. It has a basement. And it's live now.
Okay. All right. I'll look it up. Thank you.
Not Terrence is in Eagle Ridge with a basement. Make sure you look at the right one.
Okay. Thank you.
What else, y'all? Yes, thank you, Beverly. Beverly's doing an open house for me on Saturday, 865 Seastone. I couldn't remember the street numbers, so thank you. All right, let's chat. What are your thoughts? Anything you're like, oh wow, I'm gonna change the way I'm do things? Anything that you think I'm crazy about? I know I should be taking the listing appointment. So after I close the deal, I go back and I do the listing docs and send the listing docs over electronically. So that's how I get the listing. But you gotta do that quick. If they're committed, you can do it quick, like Jared said, before they change their mind. I just don't want to take, this is me being lazy. But just put it out there. I don't want to fill in all the docs and take it with me, and then they're not ready to list. And I don't want to take blank docs and have to sit there at the table and fill them all in. So it's me being totally lazy. Be better than me.
For those that are
else?
down the road, you said sometimes they're not ready. What's your follow-up plan for them?
Yep. I always call them the next day and just say, hey, I know it's been 24 hours. I'm sure I dumped a bunch of information on you. Any questions for me today? And sometimes there are, and sometimes like, no, we got to think about it. I call them every week until they tell me to stop calling them again. And I keep it going just like I started. I'm here to answer any questions you might have at this phase. I don't know if there's anything you need from me, but I'm here when you are ready. I am on your timeline. This is your timeline.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There was something else somebody said that was really good and I had lost it. I'm looking at my notes.
I want to, last thing I'll probably say, where I jumped in when you were talking about the info sparks,
Yeah.
I've started using that over the last 2 weeks. It's tremendous for a couple reasons. One, it shows that you're the market expert because probably nobody else that you're up against with the listing is going to bring that in.
It's data, graphs, and charts. It looks like you put something fancy together.
Yep. And if you've got the husband and wife and one of them, like I had yesterday, one of them's an engineer. He loved that. And I was telling him numbers of, what we had last year and where it's going. He bit right into that.
I'm so glad you said that because I skipped something that's really, really important. And that first phone call you have with them before you've gone on the listing appointment, I ask them, how long do you want me to be at your house? I want to be there for 30 minutes because I'm a high D personality and I have a short attention span. But I don't want to zip in and out with an engineer because he's going to feel slighted. So if you ask the question up front, how long do you want me to be at your house? And sometimes they go, well, how long are you usually at the house? And I say 30, 45 minutes. They say, oh, that's good. Does a couple of things. One, when 30 or 45 minutes comes up, I say, I promise you don't only be here for 30, 45 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. It helps me move the conversation along. But if they say, I would, usually a couple hours, I know I'm dealing with a personality that's an S or a C, and they really need me to bring a lot of data. And it helps me prepare for the conversations that I know are coming. I want to know what the personality type is of the person I'm talking to. And sometimes you can get it and sometimes you can't. But you guys have to be really good at reading people because I don't want to be there too short or too long. I don't want them to feel like, get out of my house. And I want them to feel like I zipped in and out and I'm not answering all their questions. You got to be able to read the room.
That was it exactly with him. I'm normally 45 minutes. The wife was done. He was still asking questions. I was there for an hour and 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the way it goes sometimes. Yep.
This was really good, Cassondra. Thank you so much for sharing. I have to run. How do I get the information? Do I need to email you or?
I will have, so I mean, you guys can have whatever you want. I'm an open book. But I will post that pre-listing seller working checklist. I fill all of this out, this top part out,
Okay.
before I go. It's my talking points. And then at this bottom, this little chart here is what type of house they're looking for. So
Okay.
I come back, and if not ready to list, I stick these. I have a whole stack of them, listing appointments I've been on that I hope that I get. Because if I get it 6 months down the road, I can't remember that house.
Yeah.
I gotta have good notes. I can't remember those people. I gotta have good notes. I'll post it in the and just on the KW internal page.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good, y'all good? Anything else? All right. Appreciate you guys coming. Thank you all.
Thank
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.